Hi, everyone. I'm Melissa Dorn. I'm a local artist. I am obsessed with industrial mop heads and do a lot of drawing, painting, sculpture based off of those uh, mop forms. And the interesting thing about the mop forms is it really led me to think about pattern. Because what I noticed in my work was I was doing a lot more um, pattern-based thinking and using the textile of the um, mop to create pattern. So what I want to show you today are some examples of artists that are doing pattern or do pattern work where it has appeared in fine art and design. We'll just take a little like teeny dive in, right? And then we're going to start to work on making our own patterns. And what I particularly am enjoying today is if you are in Milwaukee, it's kind of a dreary day. And we're going to use some really bright color and focus in on more of a spring-like theme so that we can think about the rain as a very positive thing that will enhance our spring. So I'm going to go ahead and change the camera to take a look at a few artists that I think you'll really enjoy. So the first one here is Yayo Kusama, who well, I guess all three that I'm going to introduce you to, I would say are masters of pattern. Uh, and I was about to say that about Yayo. She really incorporates pattern into everything she does. And when we look closely at this particular painting, what we see is how she repeats shapes over and over again. So even the flowers are made up of very similar shapes. She gets super detailed and goes into those main shapes with even more pattern. Maybe you can see it even a little bit more in some of these red and pink flowers here. She takes that idea of pattern all the way to the leaves and the stems where it's a repeated shape and then shapes inside of shapes. Also, her background is a pattern. So she really takes pattern to a whole new level. She also does, so this is a painting, she also does sculpture, installation, and in all of those prominent, pattern is really prominent. So let's take a look at another one of my favorites here. I do highly recommend that you do some internet research and dive more into not only these three artists and designers that I'm showing you, but also take a look at what contemporary artists and designers are doing. And you can do internet research. You can also, Instagram is a fantastic resource for that. Who I'm showing you right now, Annie Albers, did a lot with textile design and would create designs on paper that would then be transferred to the loom. This particular one that I'm showing you is actually a print that she did, and it is made up purely of triangles. So we can go broad, a bit broader like Yayo, and have a number of different shapes, or we can focus in on one shape to create a pattern like Annie has done here. I did pick patterns that have some nice bright colors to them. And this one here, Annie got really intricate with her triangles. And this is, you know, if I were going to do something with geometric forms, I would probably pull out a ruler and go at it that way. So let me show you Lois May Jones. Another one of my favorite pattern makers. Lois did painting, and also many of her early works or designs, including this one, were turned into textiles. So clothing, you know, fabric for sofas, drapes, all sorts of pillows. If we start to look around us, we will see that we are surrounded by pattern. And Lois is a really, I love the way that she has flat color here, and then all these different little shapes that are again repeated. So we're going to talk a lot about repetition today. And she's using relatively simple forms. We have a lot of circles and half circles. And then we get into these kind of more triangular shapes that allude to, I would say, growth, maybe a tree. Almost feels like we have branches here. And it also gives us kind of room for thinking, you know, allowing us to think our own thoughts about what it is. I've shown this work to elementary school students as well. And they are often fascinated by these smaller shapes within the circle, thinking that it either looks like stars or fire, you know, those kind of pointy shapes that she has included here. All right, so let's dive in ourselves. When I do pattern work, what I do first is I do some pre-planning. So I think about the shapes that I want to use, and I know that I always want to use repetition. So I almost always, and I probably could say always, start with a circle. Now, you can do these with pencil first, if that makes you a bit more comfortable. We'll start out with pencil here, and then I'll probably leave the pencil behind. But I do a circle. My pencil lead just broke. We'll work with it though, it's all right. I do a circle here. I'm going to do a circle here, and what we're doing is 3 shapes. I should have let you know that right away. So I've got a circle. I know that my circle can be larger, smaller, but it's kind of a let's call it a medium-sized circle right now. I know that I'm thinking about spring, so I'm going to do a basic leaf shape here, and I'm going to include a little stem. All right, so I have a circle, a leaf, and then I could think about, do I want petals? Do I want some maybe lines or branches or vines that will go across the page? And I think I do. I think I want kind of a viney-like shape that'll run across my page. And for right now, I'm going to focus on just these 3. I can always add a bit more to my test page. But what I do next is I assign colors to each of the shapes, so that every time my circle shows up, it will be the same color. Every time my leaf shows up, it'll be the same color. And every time my line shows up, it'll be the same color. I'm going to start with my circle here. And I'm going to do that a nice bright yellow. And I just go ahead and I fill it in here on my page, because it'll also give me a sense of how my colors are working together. So I go ahead and I fill the whole thing in. And if you're following along, hopefully you have drawn 3 shapes. Okay, so we've got a nice bright yellow there. That'll be my circle. And I was debating a little bit whether I was going to do my leaf green, but I feel like I just have to today. I'm so excited for bright green leaves that will be joining us here in Wisconsin soon. I hope this rain will help us out, right? So I'll go ahead and fill this in. And the nice thing about pattern work is that, you know, today I'm using markers. I could use colored pencils. I could use watercolor. I could use acrylic. I have a lot of fun doing these in watercolor. And, you know, once we get back to moving around a bit more, it's a really nice thing that you can take with you wherever you go. So if you're riding the bus and you have a little bit of, you know, quote unquote free time, you can get your sketchbook out and start doing some patterns. I'm going to do my vine purple because I'm thinking about like how these colors are going to interact. So I'm going to fill this in here with purple. And the reason I'm using purple is the purple is going to really work well with both yellow and green. And I'm using a regular sheet of copy paper here. So if you're looking for materials, if you happen to have a sketchbook, you can certainly use that, but you can also use just a regular sheet of paper. Grab whatever you have for your test. And like I said, I do go ahead and fill these all the way in, even on my test paper, so that I can really get a sense of how the colors are working. And then, you know, when I'm all the way done filling this in, what I do is I take a really good look at what I've done. Is there anything I want to change? You know, is there a different color that I want to use for the vine or branch? Maybe I want to make my leaf a color that I wouldn't find in nature. So I can really use my imagination and think about what colors I want to use. If you're using markers, I always like to remind everybody. So I can put my lid on here and it's kind of on, but not all the way. You want to listen for that click so that your marker doesn't dry out. These will last a super long time as long as they don't dry out. We've all been there, right? We've all reached for that marker and found out it is totally dry. So I'm looking at my 3 forms and I'm going to add one more form. I just want something a little spiky in here. And oh, I'll make it with my pencil first. Move this down a little bit. And the nice thing about doing your forms in pencil on your test sheet is if you need to, you can always erase. So there's my spiky little form. And what I'm pausing for a moment here because I'm debating between these 2 colors. Do I want it hot pink or red, I'm gonna go hot pink. For any of you that know my recent work, I've been using fluorescent pink a lot. A little obsessed with that color as well as the mops. So I'm going ahead and doing this in a hot pink. Again, I want this to be really bright. I really want to think about spring, bright colors. Sometimes the weather can get us a little down, although I'm really thinking this rain feels like spring to me. At least when I was last out there, it was a perfect kind of rain. Not too heavy. All right, so we've got kind of this crown shape, maybe star shape that will be our fourth shape. And I'm really happy with these color choices, so I'm going to stick with them. I'm going to put my marker off to the side. You know, one thing you can do, I'm a big proponent of course, always putting your name on everything, but also you might want to date your patterns, you know, to give you a sense of how you're evolving as an artist. I just actually had to look at the computer here because I forgot what date it was. So 3/27 if you're with us live. All right. I have my test paper. I'm going to move that off a little bit to the side, but not totally out of my way because I'm going to use that. And if you picked up your supply bag from Arts at Large, you received paper plates, and you were probably wondering what you're going to do with those paper plates. I have a small paper plate here. You also received large paper plates. And the idea is that we create our pattern on a number of these plates and then put them together for a mini mural that you can place somewhere in your home to help you think about spring or whatever shapes you have chosen, whatever theme you have decided to go with. You can complete your mural all on your own, or you can definitely have family members, friends help you out a little bit. So for my four shapes here, I always want to repeat, right? I said we were going to talk about repetition a lot, and we are. We're not only going to talk about it, we are going to do it. So what I'm thinking about right now is what shape am I going to start with and how many times am I going to use that shape? Since I'm working on a smaller paper plate here, I am going to do my shape 3 times. I'm going to start with the circle. And I know from looking at my test sheet here, my planning, that my circle is yellow. Now my circle can be different sizes, all right? So don't get too caught up that it has to be this exact size. You can vary it. And I'm going to go ahead and do my shapes without doing pencil first, but certainly do what you feel most comfortable with. So I'm going to do a circle here. All right. I'm going to do a circle a little bit larger over here. I'm going to move about the plate because I don't want them all in one spot. And I'm going to do one here. So 2 smaller circles, 1 large circle. And then I'm going to go ahead and fill those in. Well, you'll notice the paper plate is a bit thicker than the paper I was just using, which is nice. Just not quite as thin and gives us just a little bit more. There's a little bit more texture to the paper plate itself, and the marker works really well. This paper plate is not coated. So if you do this on your own and you grab some paper plates, really what you're looking for are the least expensive paper plates that you can find. So just think about that. You could grab a whole pack of like 50 or 100, probably for like, I don't know, a couple bucks. And all the patterns, all the murals you could make, keep you busy for the rest of the year. All right, so I have my 3 circles or dots. So I'm, for right now, done with my yellow. Next, I'm going to come in and do some of my leaf shapes. I'm going to grab my green here, which has already been decided when I did my test. I'm going to do some leaf shapes. And again, I'm going to kind of vary the size. Not kind of, I am going to vary the size. And I think I'm going to put one right kind of smack dab in the center here. Maybe not smack dab, but we've got one leaf. And then I'm going to go over here. This leaf's going to be a little bit bigger. You will find that there's some variation to this plate. So you might, run into the edge a little bit here. That's okay. And actually, I want to use that edge. And I have all my leaves pointing in the same direction. So I'm going to really change that up here. So I have 3 leaves, and that's my rule that I set aside. I wanted 3 of everything, at least to start. So now I'm going to fill them in here, get them nice and green. You can tell I've been dreaming about green. So we've got some nice bright colors, bright yellow, bright green. And currently, my shapes are not touching, but they can touch. And we'll get into that with our kind of vine and pointy crown-like, star-like shape. So you'll go ahead and color each one of these in. And another nice thing about these plates is it's super easy to kind of spin them around so you can get at each part of your shape. So I'm doing my leaf shapes. And remember, you can pick a lot of different shapes to work with. I'm focusing on more of a spring theme. I think it's helpful to have a theme or an idea about what you want your work to make other people feel. So that's just, I use it as a guide. So I use it when I'm picking out my colors. So if I know it's spring, it's going to be very bright colors. If my theme is fall, they're going to be a bit darker, but still some brightness. So there we go. We have now 6 shapes done. I'm going to put my green off to the side for now. And I think that the next shape I will do is the spiky shape. All right, got my hot pink out. And here's where some shapes are going to touch. I want to do some spikiness on my circles. Now, I did 4 spikes, so I'm going to keep to that. Do 4 spikes over here, and they can change or evolve with each circle. And yeah, I'm gonna do one more over here. So I've got my 3 drawn out, and then I'm going to come in and fill in. And hopefully this side of the plate won't get too much in your way. I just really love working with paper plates because I like the idea of, instead of, you know, kind of the normal rectangle or square as our canvas, we have a circle. So it's kind of, you know, really giving us another shape to work off of, and one that we don't use a lot. So, you know, we think about writing or paper, we often think about kind of that regular paper shape, 8.5 by 11. This gives us just another form to work with, another shape to think about, and also to think about how these patterns that we're making work in a circular shape. So maybe, you know, I turn this pattern into a pillow that is a circle. All right, I've got my second shape here filled in, and then again my third. So I'm keeping everything to 3s right now. And I keep saying right now because when I get all the way done, when I get my vine shapes on, I will, like I do with all of my artwork, take a moment or longer to take a look at it and see if there's anything else I want to add to it. All right, super bright. I'm loving it. And now I'm going to add my kind of line, vine, branch-like shapes. And again, I'm going to vary the size of these. And we're going to do a little running kind of off the paper plate. So I'm going to go ahead and do one right here. And these aren't all going to look exactly the same, but I'm keeping that waviness to them, right? It's a wavy line. And I'm going to do 3 of them. You'll notice I picked a variety of shapes. So I've got some pointy or triangle-like shapes. I have definitely circles. The leaf's a bit more complex, so pointy, kind of maybe even oval shape. So I'm tilting my paper plate here so I can get all the way to the edge. This is where you might need a scrap piece of paper down, just so you don't get any marker on the surface that you're working on. And then I'm kind of, you know, I'm moving my shape or my paper plate around to get a sense of where else I want to go. And again, I'm going off all the way to the edge of the paper plate, filling it in. And you know, another fun thing you could do if you're getting other people in your home to join you in creating these is that one of you could do the outlines, right? And then somebody else could do the coloring in. That would be a fun way to do this. And I'm getting close to having this second form all the way filled in here. And then I'm going to do a third form. All right. And let's see, where do I want to do that third form? I think it's going to come in right here around this leaf. And these forms too could touch or go under other forms. I don't currently have them doing that, but I will take a look and decide if I want to extend any of these shapes. Okay. So I've got all my shapes on, and what I want to do is maybe do a few more lines so that the pattern is really activated and we're using the full canvas. I keep calling this a canvas. We want to use the full shape of the paper plate. So I just feel like I want to come all the way off here. Do another little one here. I'll go ahead and fill that in. I think I'm going to do one more. So I set myself a rule of doing at least 3, and I've kept to that. But I always want to take a really good look when I get to the end and make sure that I'm activating the whole space. So I think, I know what let's see here. One more, and it's actually going to touch my circle and my star shape here, as well as going off the page. And it's nice that these paper plates they're just super easy to move with our hands. All right, so I've got one meeting my circle and my star shape here. And what you could do is you could come in and color in the background as well. You know, maybe I'd want to use like a blue, any one of these blues here might work really well to do the background. And then you have a couple more plates to do. You can, making sure I get my lid all the way back on. You can continue with what you have here. You may want to add another shape so that when you do the large paper plates, you have a little bit, you know, an extra shape to work with. So when you get, let's see, let's do one more. I'm kind of playing around here. So your mural could look a little something like this. When you get it, you'd want all these plates filled with your pattern. And you can use a little tape to help you out, and then figure out a really great space in your house to put these up. Maybe the refrigerator, that would be a good space. Put it right here. You know, move these around. You could have them separated too, right? They could have a little bit of space. Get some painter's tape. Maybe you could even tape them up in the hallway and they could run down the hallway and see your pattern there. All sorts of things that you can do with these. And remember, there's so much that you can look at. We talked about Yayo Kusama, lots of pattern work there. Annie Albers, if you're into more geographic shapes, you could definitely check out her work if you're thinking more about squares, rectangles, triangles. And then Lois May Jones, amazing pattern work. All three are fantastic with colors. So if you're looking for color inspiration, those three women are great examples of really thoughtful. They use color so thoughtfully. So I encourage you to continue working with this process, both in your sketchbooks or on regular paper and with paper plates, which, like I said, some of my favorite things to do, to work on because of the circle that's made for me already. I hope you had fun today. And of course, we at Arts at Large would love to see anything you have created. So feel free to tag us if you post it to Facebook or Instagram. We would love to see it. Thank you so much again for joining me today.